this is Sean. I'm back again with another episode of All Things Black. I have a new friend here.
Hello.
This is Confidence.
Yes.
And where can we find you at Confidence?
I am located in Seattle, Washington.
And so me and Confidence are going to talk about colorism today. So we can just go ahead and get right on in it. Our first question today is, what does the word colorism mean to you?
So that word means to me when people place a certain skin color above another instead of on the same level, and sometimes while also doing that, they demean and dehumanize the other skin color that they're not raising to the top.
Okay. And so what do you think are some examples of that? What are some examples of colorism?
I think some examples of colorism exist, with slavery and like the negative things that are placed on Black people, not only because we have, darker skin tone, but also we were because of the fact that we were enslaved in the past. And also, I've noticed it in the Black community as well. It's a big problem that I feel like we should also work on. And it's also, in society in general. And there's a big thing about it in Asian countries as well. They have their beauty standards, which is very European, very pale, very white. Yeah.
Right. And so why do you believe people have negative attitudes about dark skin? And why do you believe people have negative attitudes about light skin, if you think they do?
Okay, I think people have a negative attitude about dark skin because, like in books and in movies, like the color black has a very negative connotation. When you think about black, you think about something like bad or in secret, and usually in a story or a movie, the bad guys usually dressed in black, and like they try to make them, very unattractive, very ugly, and they do bad things. So when you call a person black, like people have been calling, African Americans, it just puts those negative connotations onto black people. And so people already have like, um, just even if they don't realize it, dirty in their thoughts, they've already like made an assumption of who or what you're going to act like or be like as a black person.
Okay. Right. So what I feel like you touched on this a little bit, but if you want to add to it, you can. But it's what role do you believe traditional media plays in perpetuating colorist stereotypes?
Um, Media plays a big role on perpetuating these very negative things about Black people and dark skinned people, especially dark skinned Black women. And one example that really stands out to me would be the show Martin. Martin, the main character, he has his girlfriend who eventually becomes his wife, I believe, who is light skinned, and he treats her very well, showers her with compliments. Yet, the light skinned girlfriend's best friend, she's dark skinned, and he basically treats her like trash. He's always insulting her, calling her a monkey and a just very
Nappy.
much perpetuating that. And like he himself is dark skinned, so it's like self hate as well.
Right.
And it's kind of, at the time when I was watching it, like I thought it was funny, but now I'm really starting to see a different side of it. Like this isn't helpful to our community who is already struggling with these things. So it's not really um, smart to perpetuate it in media where young children can, digest these things and like, you know use it and say it in their everyday lives.
Right. Okay. So, what role do you believe colorism plays in dating and marriage?
A big role for people who are still in those chains. Like, I honestly feel like people who believe just because someone is light skinned, they're above another person who is dark skinned, just solely on that, just nothing else. Like, their mind is in chains.
Yeah.
And it plays a huge role in our society today because honestly, what people believe in society today is lights, the lighter, the better, you know? And that's a problem because then dark skinned women, they feel left out. And like on top of like even family members, relatives, friends, like even though they're being friendly, you know, they still perpetuate it in a way because it's not like they tell those guys or people who are saying those things to stop. In fact, I honestly feel like they revel in that, like, yes, I'm better than them, you know? And so that's a problem because those in power or those who are being empowered through that, they should be the ones to actually stand up and say, you can't do that, that's not okay. But that doesn't happen, it slowly keeps going. So that's that, what would you call that? It's like being okay with
Yeah,
that.
enabling. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay. All right. How do you believe gender intersects with colorism?
Well, okay, so it used to be back in the day, it was uh black people, just men and women who were brought down because of that. But now, because black men are overly sexualized just as much as black women, but because black black men lead the world in entertainment, you know, they dominate in basketball and football, which is one of or two of the most watched sports in America. And you know, women in general, they're not really a like if it was a man and a woman, the man would be on top because that's just how our society was built on a patriarchy, basically. And so black women get the worst of it.
Yeah.
Black men, they can live with it because not only are they making, you know, enormous amounts of money with doing like these sports, but because of the social class that they've gained making all that money, they can like marry white women and like have lighter skinned children. So like they've kind of saved themselves from that in a way. But black women, since you know they're looked down on because of their dark skin and they're rejected by their own people, black men, it's like they're left out, and so they have to like stay in that, you know. Yeah.
Okay. So do you believe colorism is institutionalized? Like, do you think it affects job status, socioeconomic status, prison sentences, um, etc.?
Yes, I actually think that in a way it does because you know how they say if a white man and a black man or a white person were held for the same crime, the white person would get a lesser sentence.
Right.
And I honestly feel like when you compare the color white and black, white is more held for like righteousness,
Right.
innocence, whereas black, like I've stated before, evil, bad. So like when people see black people on our pigment, they assume, oh, they're a bad person, they're this. So yeah, it's just preconceived notions, you know. So it does affect um, how black people live their daily lives. It affects like getting jobs, having healthy relationships, things like that. So
Do you have any personal experiences with color discrimination?
yes, I have. Unfortunately, coming from a background where I am a Nigerian immigrant, my people. Um, uh, so there's three main people in Nigeria where I'm from. So there's the Hausa, the Yoruba, and the Igbo. and
Okay.
I'm Igbo, and we tend to be lighter in complexion
Okay.
than other people in Nigeria. But in my family, though, like my parents, they they are both light skinned,
Okay.
but now my dad, he's gotten darker, but my mom is still light skinned. And I am the darkest out of all of my siblings. So because of that, I've endured a lot of emotional abuse just based on that. Like I would get called, like I would basically be called ugly just because I was darker than my my brothers and sisters, and they were called beautiful and all of that. And like it's not that it's hard for you to figure out, like, oh my god, why are they calling me this, because they say because they are lighter than you they're more beautiful, and because you're darker you're ugly. Like they made it very clear why they thought that I was ugly, and they thought that my siblings were beautiful. So that's something that I had to learn from a young age, and I just had to realize that that was just ignorance, that they're ignorant, because beauty isn't based on skin color. Beauty is based on, like, if we're being like physical, it's based on physical characteristics, like, and like also beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So
Right.
someone that you may find attractive may not be attractive to someone else, or someone that you may find unattractive may not be unattractive to someone else. So it's just something that happened, and I personally think that I'm beautiful. So like,
Me too.
and thank you. And I'm a good person as well. Like I try my best to like do good and just be a good human being. So um I honestly feel like with those two things, just being a good person mainly, and then me thinking that I am beautiful, that just makes me a beautiful person.
Right. So was this more of your parents who perpetuated it and treated, because there's been studies that found that in families with children that are different colors, that sometimes the lighter children are treated better. And then sometimes there's just been families who it's not really the parents, but it's like when they go outside, people will say, oh, you're pretty to the lighter child, but not say anything to the darker child, even if the darker child is just as beautiful. Or sometimes it's outside people rather than inside. So what would it be in your case?
It was actually both.
Okay.
So again, I'm Igbo, so everyone sees lighter skin as being beautiful. And so also, while I got the abuse at home telling me that I was ugly, I would go out and I would also be told by relatives or just family friends that I was unattractive just because I was darker. And yeah, it just really made me develop thick skin, and like realize that in this world not everyone is going to like you or think positively of you, and people will judge you on your outside appearance without bothering to get to know you as a person. So I just took it as that, like they don't know me, but like then I had to think about my family, like they know me yet they say this. But I honestly feel like there was just perpetuating like what society thought. So I just brought it to like they're just ignorant, and someday they'll not be ignorant and they'll understand.
So I have a couple more questions about that. So, one, has your family ever, since this, you said it was mostly when you were younger,
Hmm.
they ever like brought up the things that they said, or have they ever addressed the way that they treated you?
I know they're too proud to. Like, I'm actually the one who actually brings up these things. And I honestly feel like now they're so ashamed of it that they don't even want to speak about it. Like they just ignore me when I bring it up.
So was it like your more of your parents, or was it like your siblings as well?
Um, well, okay, so I think we need to keep in mind. So people like to be praised,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
lifted up, and that's exactly how my siblings felt when they were called beautiful. You know, people like being compared to someone and being told that you're better than that person. So they love the attention. They love being told those things. So yes, it was. I got it from my siblings, and I got it from my parents as well.
So I know in some African countries there's like huge issues with bleaching. Would that be something that's in the Nigerian culture as well?
Yes, I believe so. And like recently, there was news that Black China developed some bleaching cream and she took it back to Nigeria.
Oh,
And that's actually quite alarming. It honestly shows just how deep the self hate goes. Because if someone was comfortable with themselves, they wouldn't be going around telling someone that they're ugly or these things. It just means that they think negatively about themselves. And the fact that someone wouldn't make a product that people didn't want. So Black China made that product because people in Nigeria wanted it. And so, like, that just speaks to self hate and, like, the saying, hurt people. So that's also something that I keep in mind as well.
it's interesting that an American woman would go sell bleaching cream in an African country.
Mm-hmm. It
That
is.
yeah, that's very
I think because she understands in America, um, people are not as ignorant about these things. Like, I'm sure some people in Nigeria realize these things. They just don't have like a word for it or a way to explain it. But since more discussions are being brought about the topics like colorism, people are more aware to it. And so, like, if Black China were to like advertise it in the States, like, she'd get like a lot of hate. She actually did receive a lot of hate,
yeah.
but it was still, her products were still going because it
Yeah.
was made to like go to Nigeria where people actually wanted it, you know? Yeah.
Okay. So what did you do to work through those things? I mean,
Hmm?
because I said, what did you do to work through those things? Because getting that from your family has to be pretty devastating.
Yeah, it really was. I just like I had to compare like their actions to their words because I noticed a trend. Like they seem to only want to praise one person regardless of how that person acted or what they did. Because I know, like, my younger sister, who is the lightest or one of the lightest of my all of my brothers and sisters, she was praised like the most out of all of us. Like everyone would call her beautiful. You're so beautiful. Blah blah blah. And they would just let her do whatever she wanted. Like she would act out, and she barely got disciplined for that. Um, and so that was something that existed. And like, okay, so for a time I thought they called me ugly and all these things because I acted badly or something like that. And so I tried my best to do everything they asked me, and more than I did more than they asked me. Like I would cook and like do all these. I would clean the whole house, and then I would wait and expect the same praise that they received. But um and like a thing that I also noticed, like I was really quiet back in the day. I didn't really stand up for myself. Like I let people walk all over me because in my culture, that's how women are supposed to be. They're supposed to be uh, submissive. They're supposed to like let things like that happen. And so whenever I did these things, and then my dad, he's usually the one who like gives it all these praise. Like he'd ask, "Oh, who cooked this meal? Who cleaned these like the whole house?" And I would like try to say it's me, but my brothers and sisters would take the credit for that, and my dad would believe them because I think he just judged it based out of physical looks. He's like, oh, these people are lighter, she's darker, therefore she wouldn't do something good like that. But they would. Like, I noticed it all just came down to skin color and skin tone. So I just realized that their words, they doesn't define me, because based on what I've done, I know that one, I'm a good daughter, and another, I'm a good person. So I just stopped listening to their like what they said, and stopped seeking uh, validation from them, because I realized that they're wrong. Like what they're doing is wrong, and it's not fair. That's not a good way to judge people, especially um, brothers and sisters, because it's just a hierarchy that's set in a family. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So my last two questions are, um, who is responsible for ending the cycle of colorism, and do you think it'll ever end?
Um, the people responsible for ending the cycle of colorism, I would think, are the children of those people who are colorists. Because as I grow up, I've learned a lot um, in my days. And like, I feel like I could take that and just be a better parent to my children. And I'm also educating my brothers and sisters to like these. This is the best way to raise your kids, so you don't pass on the scars that your parents passed on to you, that they've been passed on from their parents. Because what I realized is this is a vicious cycle of just pain and hurt. And if you through your pain, like you just want to like put it on someone else, like that's not good. It's just going to keep it going. So the best way to end it is just accept that that's what happened to you and learn to heal from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think it'll ever end?
Yes, I feel like with education, it can end. I mean, I'm sure there'll be some, slip ups, but you can always fix those with education.
All right. Well, those were all of my questions, Confidence.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time, beautiful.
I appreciate yours too.
This is Shine and Confidence. Thank you for watching our show.
Thank you. Bye.